Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. In today's video, we're going to chat about blue staples that you can run in Commander. But first, we have a candle that I'm going to light. This is Creamy Chai Latte by Chrissy's Candle Creations. I will list them down bar below. I am not sponsored. That'd be so cool. Their candles are really cool. They are soy-based, which is great. And this literally is like someone just took a chai candle and literally stuffed it in this, and I have my reusable lighter, which is super cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and light this. And that it is August, but I'm in the fall spirit, so, you know, here we are. So, without further ado, let's just chat about some 10 staples that you can run in Commander. I do already have parts 2, 3, and potentially 4 planned, because there's some really cool stuff that you could run in blue. So let's hop into it. The first blue staple that I would like to chat with you guys about is Cyclonic Rift. And I feel like Cyclonic Rift is one of those, like, and I think like the really cool thing about all of these videos, these are like no fail cards. Like you could put this in a lot of things and like it would still do well. You know what I mean? I feel like Rift is just always one of those really great cards. I think the best case scenario with Rift is you overload it and you just win, either like if you're doing this at the end of someone's turn or you're doing it on your turn and then you're just winning. I think like that is like ultimate dream case scenario, right? However, sometimes Rift is a desperation act where you do it to literally just save yourself because otherwise you are just going to straight up die. But yeah, the best case scenario with this card is that it's just you use it and you hopefully win. Like that's kind of like the best case scenario, but it returns all things. And I think really the awesome thing about playing this card in particular in a blue color deck is blue doesn't really have like board wipes that you can play, like that typical like Wrath of God type of effect. Rift is just one of those answers, and it might seem like a lot to overload it, but if you're playing in Commander and you're playing against 3 people and like you just overload all of their stuff, there's likely going to be a ton of permanents. So yeah, this card is absolutely great, just belongs in everything. If you're playing blue, why would you not run a Cyclonic Rift? You just should. Speaking of another card that you could just literally run in everything, because why would you not? And that is Brainstorm. So, like, 1 mana to draw 3 cards at instant speed probably should not exist. But I'm so glad it does. Thank you so much for coming out with one of my favorite cards. This in Commander in particular is so great because the amount of times that you shuffle your deck as a Commander player usually is pretty high because you got stuff that you're going to do it with. So my personal favorite way to do this is like play this in the early stages of the game or whatever, draw 3 cards, pitch back 2 things that I don't want. It's also really good too if you're doing this at early stages of the game because you can pitch away things that are higher CMC that you just don't want to. You're like, I'm super far from this. Like, I'm not going to be casting this anytime soon. You pitch him away, and then you use some sort of way to, like, shuffle your deck with, like, a fetch land or, like, something like that. So that's, like, the best. That's, like, the best case scenario with this card. But there are instances where, honestly, I just brainstorm because I just need to draw 3 cards, and then I just pitch back 2 cards that I'm just going to draw later. So, whatever. Card's great. So good. Cool. Let's talk about Counterspell. I don't really know if there's like a lot of things that I can say about Counterspell because it's so simple. You just, for 2 mana, you just do the thing. It's anything. We are going to be talking about other counterspells later on in future parts. I don't think we talk about any other counterspells in this video. No, kind of. Well, I'll get to there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But like, counterspells just like that simple, classic, you got it in everything. You know what I mean? Like, it just goes in all those things. And this is a really dumb story, and I really hope you don't judge me for it, but for the longest time, I didn't play it in anything because none of the art that I liked I could get in foil. I understand that that is a really petty thing. I understand. You can make fun of me. It's fine. But, like, they recently just came out with art that I really enjoy. I actually now have 2 favorite Counterspell art, so I'm going to be picking some of these up soon, which I'm very excited about, because for the longest time I was like, man, I really want to play Counterspell. Why don't I play it? And I was like, yeah, because you like foil magic cards and you know, don't like any of the foils, or you don't like any of the arts and foils. I'm really particular and really weird. Anyways, moving on. Let's chat about Rhystic Study. Rhystic Study is just kind of one of those cards that I really love because I love, like, one of my friends said this about, like, Mugus and I feel like this describes a lot of cards, is like the alarm clock cards. This is what I'm going to call these type of effects. The like, you gonna pay for that? You know, like, it's like an alarm clock. It's like nobody really wants to hear that alarm clock. You're kind of just annoyed, and it happens constantly, right? That's a card like Rhystic Study. It's like an alarm clock card. There's a lot of these in the game, and Rhystic Study just happens to be one of my personal favorites. So yes, Rhystic Study, it's a really great card. It's whenever an opponent casts a spell, you can draw it unless they pay 1. Many times in my Commander games, people either forget or they just don't care. And they're like, whatever, you can just have your dumb card. And that's usually the way that things work. So, yeah, that's my experience with Rustic Study. And I really love this card a lot. It's great. And you guys know, if you follow me, I am not a big enchantment person. But I do like this one. It's a good one. We're going to be talking about 2 enchantments in this video. That's like 20% more than normal for me. You know, that's like a big deal. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's talk about drawing cards, because let's be real here, it's literally the best thing to do in the entire game. Like, no questions. Dig through time. I feel like if you go to Google and you type in something that's perfect, like, dig through time shows up, right? Because, like, how could it not? Like, how can you not love this card? You draw this card on turn, like, 5, and you're like, cool, I got something for in a couple turns. You draw this card on turn 10, you're like, stoked. You draw this card on turn 15, you're like, yes. You draw this card on turn 20, oh my god. Like, what? Like, when you have this card, it's, like, always a good time. You look at 7 cards. 7 cards. And I understand, like, the thing about that is, like, your commander deck, right? 7 cards you draw in your opening hand, unless you, like, pitch and duel, like, mulligan type stuff. But, like, let's just say 7 cards. Your commander is 8. You've got 92 cards left in your deck. You know, like, you're probably gonna have a solid, like, you know, like that meme with, like, where, like, they're trying to do math and it's all, like, the triangles are, like, swirling through. This is, like, a meme moment right here. But, like, it's a percentage of your deck that you get to see, which is awesome. And you get 2 of them. You don't have to reveal them, and it's got Delve. So this card is never 8 mana. It's never 8 mana. If you're paying, like, 8 mana for this card, like, we need to have a serious conversation. Like, I'll have a little coaching session and we'll talk through it. Don't pay 8 mana for this card because it's 2 mana, just in case you didn't know. This card's awesome. I love it. Can you tell? Dig through time. I'm a huge fan. Okay. Let's talk about these cards side by side, because they literally are the same thing, with the exception of what you give your opponent, which will make sense when I mention the cards, which is Rapid Hybridization and Pognify, which I love both of these cards. For the longest time, I didn't run these cards. I didn't like them because I was like, why do I want to give my opponent stuff? And now I'm like, I get to kill your dude for 1 mana at instant speed. 1 mana, I'll say that again because it's important. 1 mana, instant speed, which is great. And I give you a 3/3. I do not care in the slightest, because whatever I've killed is significantly scarier than a 3/3 frog lizard / ape. And the best part about this card is you give them a frog lizard / ape, and it's funny because you turn their really big scary thing into a 3/3 frog lizard. And if you don't think that's funny, well, you don't have the same kind of sense of humor that I do, and that makes me really sad. These cards are awesome. It's just you should just play them. They're very affordable cards as well. And, like, blue doesn't do cards like this. Do you know what I mean? Blue is like counterspells. So the fact that, like, these exist, it just makes my heart happy. I love these cards so much. You can also get, I think it's Rapid Hybridization that you can get very cheap in the foil, I think. I get these two confused, so I don't remember. But yeah, these cards are awesome. Let's talk about Leyline of Anticipation. This was the other card that I mentioned that it's an enchantment that I'm shockingly talking about too in this video, which is a huge deal for me. I really like Leyline of Anticipation. You know, it's like, Vedalken Ori is, first off, a very expensive card for a lot of people. It is. It's like, I don't remember how much the non-foil is. The non-foil might be like 30 or 35, 40, around there. And Leyline is much cheaper. And the thing about them is they're obviously, like, a little bit different. You could run Vedalken Ori in every commander deck. You can only run this if you're playing blue, of course. But I would say if you are building a blue deck, which, I mean, you're here, so probably building a blue commander deck, and Valkanori is out of your price range, Leyland is a really good card. And the other really awesome thing about Leyland is you do have in your opening hand, you get to pay it for free. However, to me, that's not like the be-all end-all. Like, if you pay 4 mana for this card, like, that's not bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're still doing really well if you're paying 4 mana for this card and you're playing it on turn 3, 4, whatever. I really am a huge fan of these cards. I like being able to, like, just play a land and then go. Like, that's kind of one of my things that I really like. Or I like situations where I can play something but then leave mana up for, like, something. And Leyline is one of those cards that gets you there. So, yeah, I really like it. Flash Man, that's what it's all about. I love it. Okay, let's talk about one of my personal favorite cards, which is Reality Shift. Man, I love this card. Like, this is another one of those cards that I'm like, this card is just perfectly designed. Like, perfectly executed. Love everything about this card. Like, this card can't do wrong. You know what I mean? It's 2 mana, instant speed, you exile their thing. Gets around so many things. If you know me too, I'm a big fan of, like, when you're playing removal, you can't just play, like, all destroy or all targeted removal. You need a mix. You need board wipes, you need spot removal, you need destroy, you need exile, you need artifact removal, you need enchantment removal. Like, you need all the things. You gotta cover all the bases. You know what I mean? Reality Shift is one of those cards that I really like because it gets it exiled, so I know I don't have to worry about it, which is great. They manifest. And, like, sometimes, yeah, they manifest and they get a creature. Whatever. Like, the chance of you exiling something that's better, worse than the card, you know what I mean. Like, it's a good thing to do, basically. They might manifest and maybe they get something. And you know what? If they don't, if they get a 2/2 they're flooded in mana and they got a 2/2 and it's a land, whatever, they can have the 2/2. I don't care. Whatever I'm getting rid of is, like, significantly... Words are, like, really hard for me to say right now. But, like, you know what I mean. This card's great. I really like it. It's instant speed, man. It's a great card. I love this card so much. Okay, let's talk about my friend and yours, Ponder. Maybe it's not your friend. I don't know. It should be one of your friends if it's not, because this card's awesome. So this card is, I really like this card for, like, a lot of different reasons. So it's 1 mana at sorcery speed. You look at the top 3. You can, just, like, keyword here, put them back in any order. And you would shuffle your library and then you draw a card. Or you could just put them back in any order and be like, I like all these 3 cards, and then just draw that. And I really like the option in this because what I've actually been finding a lot in my Commander games, I'm trying to say a lot of my Commander games recently. Tracy, when have you played Commander recently? Like, you haven't. But, like, in the times where I was able to play Commander and I've played with this card, like, I found myself actually a lot of the time being like, you know what? I'm not really a huge fan of these 3 cards. Pitching them all and just drawing a card and just drawing that fresh card. Like, I really like that aspect of Ponder, and I feel like there's a lot of these type of effects in these cards. Like, there's like Brainstorm, like this card, like Period, like they all tend to be, like, grouped together, but, like, they're all just, like, slightly different. I really like Ponder for a lot of reasons. Also, a solidly affordable card. Maybe this card is cents. Maybe it's like $1, but it's a very affordable card, and it's just really great. And yeah. The last card I want to talk about is this card, little card here. Maybe it's not little. It's kind of big. Mystic Confluence. This card's great. I just realized that we talked about 0 creatures in this list, which is funny. Anyways, this card first got printed in Commander 2016, I think. I feel like Commander 2016 was a really legit year. Maybe it was 2014. I don't know. No, for some reason I have in my head that it was 16. Anyways, oh no, it was 15. Oh, my Commander knowledge is not very good. I'm really bad about those different sets. The symbols, I can't keep up. It's just, there's too many, I can't. I like the M sets because they all have, like, M11. You're like, oh, easy, I love it. Okay, this card is great. So it's 5 mana and you choose 3. And I think a lot of people, just before we get into this, I feel like a lot of people are like, this is a lot of mana for this card. And I do agree, but why I really like this card, because if you phrase this card as saying, choose 3, I can return 3 creatures back to their owner's hand for 5 mana, that's a lot. And you break this down with each, for 5 mana to draw 3 cards at instant speed, I mean, like, there's other things, right? But the thing that I think people are missing is the fact that this does any or all of those things. So if you want to do each of those modes one time, that's awesome. You can counter something and bounce something and draw a card for 5 mana. Like, that's not bad. And I think, like, it's the flexibility in this card is why I think makes it really strong. I don't think it's the fact that you can just play this and draw 3 cards for 5 mana at instant speed. Like, that in and of itself doesn't sound that great, because if you you have that stapled onto other blue instants that are like that, or there's like the one card that's like draw 4 cards for 6 mana, which is like kind of weird, you know? It's like, I think there's better things, but I think it's the flexibility which makes this card really shine in and of itself. Or maybe you're like, I'm gonna bounce your token and then draw 2 cards for 5 mana, and you're like, all right, that seems pretty good. For the longest time too, this card was really expensive. Maybe it still is actually really expensive. Oh, it got printed in Battle Bonds. Oh, you know, it's a good one when it's been printed in Battle Bond. Y'all know how I feel about Battle Bond. Alright guys, that was it. That was everything for talking about 10 blue staples for Commander that you can play. I really hope you guys like this video. Let me know what of these are your favorite staples, and let me know if there's any that I didn't mention that you think I should. They're probably very, very, very likely featured on another part, because there's a lot of really cool blue cards. So anyways, that is it for me. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you in my next one.